Welcome, Zuri. Beautiful woman. I'm so thrilled to have you on today. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very excited to be here. I love the conversations that you have. So thank
Oh,
you for
thank you.
opening it up to me. Yes.
Well, I'm thrilled and I'm really curious and interested in just hearing all about your background. Like how did you get to where you are now? Like lead us through the path that you took.
Oh, okay. We're just starting big.
Start big.
Yeah, I know that the foundation of how I got to where I am and where I'm headed has so much to do with being raised by really creative people. My mom and my dad, they were and are writers, and I grew up just around just a lot of performance poetry and like African dance and drum circles. And my cousins and I just always had a safe space to express with our whole bodies and voice. And so much of where I am today is, I think, can be described by performance art and expression, and also merging that with wellness and a connection to our ancestry, and a deep knowledge and sense of our history. And so, yeah, so it started with being raised by really supportive, creative people in an environment that really supports expression. And I identify as a storyteller, a griot, an actor, and an activist. I'm still working on using that word, the word activist. But just, yeah, the foundation is really being raised by just people who are really passionate about like this collective sense of liberation. And so I got to be really supported in studying theater from a young age as a kid, just by using it, not with a big career goal in mind as much as just that being my outlet for expression and community, and possibly also as an only child, like having a space with peers to perform and express. And have been studying that. I grew up sort of co-parented by my parents across the country. My dad was in Brooklyn, my mom's in the Bay Area. And I've had a really amazing opportunity to be raised around a lot of cultures different from my own. And that is such a huge part of me, that collective sense of liberation and community, and my drive for wanting to learn so much about life from different perspectives. And it all comes from that. And so being an actor and being in theater and being in television allows me to like dive into stories that may be different from my own, or into stories where I get to share my own story and then learn other perspectives. And yeah, just growing up in the Bay and in Brooklyn, and then going to college in Atlanta, going to an HBCU in particular, where I got to learn so much more about myself as a Black woman, and build my confidence, and just become this theater person without feeling like I needed to represent for my race at the same time, or gender, because also it's a women's college. And just being really supported in my education as a theater student, which I'm so glad that your daughter is as well. The arts education is so impactful no matter what path we choose. And yeah, after Spelman, going to UCLA, which brought me to Los Angeles to study my craft even more. And now I have the honor of portraying an activist named Malika Williams on Good Trouble on Freeform Network. And I love being able to merge my passions for all of the things previously stated with like liberation and activism and artistry and learning about TV. So much of my studies were in theater. So Good Trouble has been my classroom, because it's really my first like TV job. And it's in such a big like series regular big way. It's in such a big way with a series regular contract, that I'm there so much, where I get to learn so much about learning about acting for the camera. And so I'm just being a student of life and getting to tap into my passions and learn. And it feels like a really vulnerable place to learn in public and to keep growing. And to also merge that with, because our show is so purpose oriented, I get to just continue to be inspired to be an activist in my own life, in my own ways, and learn so much about activism, and also be a millennial while I'm playing this polyamorous character, and who's exploring her queerness at the same time while I'm exploring mine. And that is part of my journey about just like where I am, and in this space of liberation and performance. And yeah, it
Wow.
always feels so weird to like talk so much about
Right.
our journeys and accomplishments and things, but there's a little cliff notes. And
I love that. And
yeah.
it really, I mean, Zuri, I'm so like moved because it really shows how important those formative years are. For
Yes.
setting the stage, they're the seeds for growth and the fertilizer for that, because everybody has that potential. But if you don't have the environment, and that's really what I want to go down that path a little bit, because I feel like you should start like the Liberation School. Because I feel like if we really,
let me write these things down.
Write it down.
School. That was
the
good.
Liberation School, because this is what people need. People are probably craving it, but if they don't get it, and let's not say it's anyone's fault, a parent or culture or whatever, but it's definitely harder to live in a liberated state, but it's also freer. I mean, that goes without saying. It's easy to be in a box and to follow the recipe and to not expose yourself to other traditions, cultures, races, religions. That's we should all be doing that. That's what liberation is actually not being so, and that's the yoga, not being so attached to like a way, right?
Yeah.
And when I think about this, and I don't think it's just like black versus white, but I do think the most spiritual people in that like are my black friends and the black people I've seen, period.
Absolutely.
So I want to unpack that, because I remember as a kid being in church, and we had a church, very few black people. Across the church, Baptist, I grew up in the South, Baptist, black church. It burned down, and they were rebuilding it, and they came into our church. It was when I actually enjoyed going to church the most, because I saw spirit. I saw movement. I saw expression. I thought, we are so constipated, we white people living in the pews, right? Like, we're all living in the pews. We're in the pews, and they're just and I thought,
listen,
this is joy and spirit. So what do you think? What do you think that is? Why are we so constipated? and I'm sure that obviously there's white people who aren't, and there's black people who are more, but there is such it's true energy that you can see and feel and touch. So I'd love to hear your input.
Yes, my input, and as you speak about a lot, I'm a forever student in everything I'm gonna say and word vomit. And what first comes to mind is when I went, so I grew up going to a school where I was mainly like K through 12, like one of few black people at the school. And then I went to Spelman, where it was like there were multiple Zuris and multiple people looking like me. Like all my roommates are black women, and one studying, robotics, Japanese, one studying theater, one studying law. Like, so it just gets to be this diverse Wakanda, and we get to just tap into rather than like represent as the black person, like now we just get to be like in our purposes and understand more deeply in a way that we don't learn from like westernized, textbooks and K through 12 education, like understand more deeply who we are and what we bring to the table. And I say that to connect it to what you're saying about spiritual practices, because what I got to learn theater, and everyone got to learn their craft, but for me, it was theater from the perspective of the entire diaspora, not just like Black history starting with slavery, but the beginning of time. Like we got to learn from what our innovations, kings and queens, and these mathematic innovations, and no longer seeing ourselves as like savages or just uncivilized in the ways that westernized textbooks and films may try to portray. And it helped me understand that our crafts are coming from this spiritual place. Like when it comes to acting or storytelling or leading a yoga practice, everything is a ritual. It is truly even sex. Everything is praise and worship, with spirit. And so when it comes to church, and everybody doesn't, it may not be, church may not be the word for everybody. It's when it comes to church or yoga class or you go to the movies, you're going to hear the Black people talk back. You're going to hear, you're going to hear, it doesn't have to be, but it's in the body, because there is this sense of, whether we know it or not, there's this sense of like, before the history we learned here, there are these rituals, and with music and rhythm, where we communicated with each other. I mean, we were braiding hair with mats to escape slavery, to teach each other. So it's in the whole body, like every part. No strand of hair is wasted. No sound from the voice is wasted. And so in church, now you're talking about connecting with ancestors. I mean, your mama, your grandma, people who may not be here earthside, but and the people, and we as people of acknowledged African descent, we don't know where we come from. Like, I don't know exactly what country I come from because of the history of the slave trade. Sadly, I don't know my real last name. I know the last name on my birth certificate is from the people who enslaved my family. And so there is this sense in church where we get to, and whether we're conscious of it or not, we are like reclaiming this connection to
liberation,
where we started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's ironic.
Yes.
You're the most liberated because you haven't lost what is within all of us, but somehow.
Yes. There's such a yearning for it.
Yeah, maybe that's it. It's so,
yeah.
But it's
and
tangible.
We all have it. Yes,
we all have
tangible.
it. And it's just, and that's what we talk about in yoga is like, we have it. We just sometimes have to uncover whatever is already there. But it's obviously hard for a lot of people, uncomfortable for a lot of people. And yet,
it's uncomfortable.
Many of them are coming from a place of privilege. So it's kind of like, it's just been, it's really, I think it comes back to this state of liberation. And we could, that can unfold in so many ways. How we think we should be perceived, how we're afraid of how somebody's going to think about us. It's just every layer is...
it's vulnerable. Yeah. It's vulnerable to make sound aloud and give thanks aloud and scream and shout and spin in circles and not know how to explain what's happening. That feels, quote unquote, we're quote unquote uncivilized. We're taught to be so presentable, desirable, and in line that, church culture, and probably particularly white church culture, is rigidly adhering to that. But there's a yearning
totally
not to, there's a yearning. So I'm so glad that is being expanded and integrated, that we're integrating our church experiences and our spiritual experiences.
And I think emotions, liberated emotions, I think again, and we could, this is for our world today, is that people still like I'll be doing trainings and I start talking about my dad and I'll start crying and I'm fine with it. But I see people are like, oh my God, she's crying. And it's right. And
it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. And I'm like, I'm not uncomfortable. I'm crying here. My heart hurts. It's going to hurt forever. And it's okay. I'm okay though. I also experience joy. And what are your thoughts about I think in emotional spectrum, you have to experience it all. And I think we are culturally taught to tame these two ends, don't get like, what? And don't get like, it's just
Not like not too high highs or not too low lows. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Boring.
trying to stay steady.
Yeah. Well, and
Boring. Yeah.
this is where your liberation school is going to help. All of your
hmm
acting, because the people that haven't been taught how to do it, weren't
Yeah.
modeled it at home. They
hmm
need to have someone bring it out. And there's ways, of course,
That's
in
it.
acting you can do it,
That's it.
and I know how healing that can be.
hmm
What have you
hmm
found like to be the most transformative part of being an actor?
Ooh. Um, well, the first thing that comes to mind is when I was in graduate school, part of my sort of scholarship was to teach acting to non-acting majors. And I got to witness some transformation in a way that I didn't anticipate. And so those students were like the football players who thought they were going to get an easy A, basketball players whose coaches sent them in to like keep their grades right, and then law students whose teachers were telling them they need to learn how to present themselves with their voices and bodies better when they're giving their arguments, and medical students who also needed to know how to like speak to people with more presence. And so teaching acting to them, which I think is the same gift it gives to me constantly, is it allows us to find our voice. And I mean, quite technically too, working through the breathing and the oral postures, and then once moving through that, just getting comfortable like making sound and having emotion and being seen in ways that may not feel pretty or comfortable or soft. And that is what acting has done for me. And it's also what it's done for me, and what I see that it did for my students, is that it allows us to look at life through multiple perspectives as best as we can. You know, we can. I love being able to portray and want to continue to portray tell as many stories as I can with this particular body and voice. And so I know that there are many stories that other people will need to tell with their bodies and voices. And there are so many I can tell with mine. And many of the stories I can tell of mine are still different from my own life story. And so it just builds compassion
I was just
for,
thinking that
yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
imagining like the people
yeah,
that have to play a character that is really villainous or vile,
yes, you
and
can't
like,
judge it. Yeah.
right, and then they have to do, like, they can take it on, and in
hmm
that, even though the people that are watching are gonna be like, God,
hmm
I hate that character, blah blah blah, but
Yeah.
they have to recognize, yeah, the humanity in it, and that
hmm
whatever this person maybe was this way because of lots of pain and hurt, probably because that's
Right.
often the people that are like the more vile people are. Really, they're the most hurt often.
Yeah,
But
exactly. That's
right, you
the
get to
truth.
try it. You get to be it, but not like actually carry it off the set for at
Yeah.
least unless you're really
As long as,
full method.
yeah, I mean, because sometimes it's hard to separate
Yes,
sometimes. I mean,
I can
my
imagine.
character Malika on Good Trouble, she and I are similar because like she's also like a millennial living in LA. And you know, right, I went from 0 to 100 when I booked Good Trouble. Like right before that, I was in the same economic status as this character. And she was, you know, I was not homeless, but she was unhoused, and I was not unhoused, but she was. And but I was close. And yeah, there, because of, and I think like also her queerness and all of that, like there's such similarity that I find that I need to do more work emotionally to remember what's not mine to
Right.
take home. Like
Well, so
what
I'm
traumas and
curious,
what
like,
emotions
what
are
do
not
you?
mine.
Yeah. So what are some practices you do in a way to kind of cleanse, to come back to you?
Yeah. I have to, for me, it helps me to use my body. Like it helps me
Me too.
first to have a day. Yeah. First to have a day where I'm chilling. Like after, you know, all of the interaction and all of the dialogue and conversations and the crying back to back, or even the joy, lots of Malika's joy, not just the trauma parts, but even the joy may not always be mine. The romance is not always mine. It's Malika's, you know, and but just taking a day to like when I have it, even if it's a few hours, but when I have it, to be home, lay out, no interaction, no phone calls, text me only, maybe. But just to like really take a break from all interaction, reset, and then movement. Like even just walking. I love martial arts. I love boxing because I can let things out in a way that it doesn't matter if it's mine or Malika's. We just getting it out.
Yes, healthy
Yeah,
release.
yeah,
Yeah.
in a healthy way. Yeah, yeah. And yoga is so helpful. Just like to move and expand and allow myself to. I cry a lot in boxing and in yoga, and I don't always know exactly what it is, and I just let it happen. And so just letting myself feel and move, but for sure moving my body. There's something that just feels like
Yeah.
it's moving through. It's moving through. My brain gets to do like a word vomit without holding on to anything, but we just move through. And I don't really love to talk to anyone while I do those things, just so that I'm not adding any new information while I'm trying to release what is there.
What is your sign?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, your birth sign.
Aries.
Oh my God, you're my son. That's so funny because
Yes.
I'm a Scorpio. I'm like, I am so
I
much
knew
like
it. Yes.
I am so
Yes.
much like that. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
I have to come into my own and
Yeah.
like separate myself and just like
Yep.
be still or be quiet and chill.
Yeah.
And then I'm the same. I need to move
Yep.
and then I'm all like, it's like I'm
Yeah.
cleared.
Yeah.
But
Scorpio
yeah,
is pretty much the rest of my chart, by the way.
yeah,
So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
good Scorpio.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I was looking at your Instagram and I loved this quote and I'd like you to like elaborate on it a little bit more. You said,
Yes.
"Give yourself permission to be loved better."
Ooh.
What do you think that
Mm.
means for you and for others? Because I feel like this, again, it's part of the Liberation School.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, for whatever
Blessed be with that.
reason, right? Whatever reason, I don't feel like people either believe they deserve it, understand that it's possible, or give themselves permission to be loved better. And I'm just curious how you feel like maybe you have been how you've given your permission to love yourself better or to be loved better, or
Yes.
how you would help others feel that.
Yes. Thank you for asking that. That has been a big part of my journey recently. I would say in the recent, like in the past year, giving myself permission to be loved better really means love myself better. And to set the tone for how I choose to love myself, love the people in my life, and receive love. And it really means right now to me, it really means trust my instincts. It means like not to question that whisper and not need to know why or how all the time. Like how, like the how of, well, if that idea comes, like how is that going to happen? How is that? Just trust that that's the direction I'm leading. Even if it's something simple, it doesn't have to be like start a school. It could be eat an apple, but it's just to trust that voice one step at a time and see where that takes me throughout the day. To be brave and bold enough to love myself enough to trust that, because that allows me to ask myself, what is the experience that I want to have in this moment? And that is where things get real specific. Because that's where I get specific about what energy I have the capacity to be around at a particular time, or to have around, what energy I need, what feels replenishing, and then how I feel that I can replenish and pour out and when, and to trust my intuition about that. And that's really what giving myself permission to be loved better has meant to me lately. And it's been a game changer. It's like, it's like the video games or board games where it's like you have this option to go in this direction or in this direction, and they don't seem that different. And then at the end, it's a whole different path. And I'm seeing how different my paths were going when I was trusting the intuition of my deep loved ones who mean the best for me when I was following the shoulds rather
Yes.
than my own voice, I was on paths that weren't feeling aligned for me fully, or just having experiences that were what I knew I didn't weren't fully how I wanted to really spend my time and energy. And so because of that, I wasn't being fully present. And yeah, giving myself permission to be loved better really helps me show up where I am called to show up and how I'm called to show up. And then I can give my best in those spaces. And then I end up just loving better externally because I love myself so much.
Well, and like you
To
said,
follow
when
that
you're the
voice.
one to move that piece,
Yeah.
then it's all yours. Like you did it, right?
Yes.
So of
Yes.
course, in doing that, that
Yeah.
energy, that love is there. It hasn't been
Mhm.
dissipated by somebody else's choices.
Yes.
Again, even if they were well intentioned, but when
Oh, yeah.
you are the holder and
Mhm.
making the decisions, it's so empowering. And I think
Yes.
what happens is it's clarifying, because then,
Yes.
like you said, the permission is there because you have been
Yeah.
clear what
Yes.
you want, what you don't want,
Yes.
and has in that kind of being the holder of the pawn, so to speak. Have you found that you have released people from your life or situations? Like, did it become? I'm asking another question. Well, because we know, my friend, that whatever
Oh,
we go
goodness.
through, others go through too. And I think this is the
Mhm.
biggest thing: is
Mhm.
people. There are people sometimes that are not that have had a place in your life, and that's what you can say
Mhm.
thank you to and have gratitude,
Mm.
but are no longer going to be allowing you to be
Yeah.
fully loved better.
Yeah. Yes. It has. And that has felt challenging
Mm,
and has brought up grief and has
yes.
also at the same time helped me feel so much lighter and so much more liberated than I have ever felt. All the things at the same time. The grief, the sadness, the challenge of it. Um, yes, giving myself permission to love myself better and trust my intuition and honor the experiences that I want to have and release the experiences that I don't want to have has really chiseled down who is closest to me. And it has taught me that it doesn't mean that anyone needs to be completely cut out of my life. Some people do just need to be in the last chapter and don't need to be in the next chapter, for sure. And then it's also taught me how to readjust and to only speak what's true, only do the parts that are enjoyable. So, and the speak the parts that's true means like speak the parts that are loving and true. Like, I love the way that you teach me how to speak up. I love the way that this person teaches me how to dress and put my outfits together because I love the way that they do that. And I love the way that, just picking and pulling pieces. And those same people may not be the people who I will also say teach me how to treat people or
Mm-hmm.
teach me how to choose myself. And so learning what lessons I can still gather and where I can give without being codependent in those spaces. And yeah, so yes, that has absolutely, it's almost like it's put a little shield or like a force field around me. I didn't even plan to, but because I am moving in the direction of the voice that's guiding me now, of my divine guidance so much more, it is moving me away from the relationships that were pulling and draining my energy that I wasn't pouring into myself. So mainly the relationships where there wasn't enough reciprocity for me, and relationships where I was practicing habits that weren't healthy for me, where I was more inclined to practice, where I was more encouraged to, not that anyone made me do so, but just where I knew that I need a boundary with myself to, just
Yeah.
maybe, schedule my life a little differently, to show up for my responsibilities more. I needed to be more surrounded by the other energy that is motivated to have the type of structure that I need right now. And yeah, so it's just like there are some fun friends, and then there are like the close homies,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Yeah.
Well, you said that with such grace and compassion. It's really
Thank you.
your wisdom is very apparent because
Mm,
it's again
mm.
it's like fine tuning
It is.
your instrument, and I feel like and this is like a good segue to yoga because I feel like yoga, that's what it really does for me. It
Mhm,
fine tunes the connection between the instrument and my body, which carries my spirit, my
mhm,
energy, my vitality, my
mhm,
history, and then it's like can
mhm,
always kind of fine tune that I'm playing at my highest vibration. And I
mhm,
think that's
mhm,
what you're saying is this isn't about
mhm,
another person or this situation. It's about
mhm,
where am I
mhm.
at my highest. So I would love to
Yes.
know, like, what is your practice, your movement practice, your
Mm.
yoga practice, or any other things? I know you do crystals and like tarot cards. I just want to like
Oh,
what are the things you do that like really fine tune that internal wisdom that is so apparent?
thank you. Um, I start my day reading a daily devotional. And right now it's Iyanla Van Zant's Acts of Faith. And it's just, I mean, I'm going to keep it really real with you. It's when I'm on the toilet, get on the toilet, open
Yep.
the daily devotional, and read. It's just 5 sentences every day of like, it maybe 5 to 10 sentences every day. One is, it could be about um, lack, it could about money versus lack, like living in abundance, or choosing faith or choosing kindness. I mean, I have no idea what the word of the day is going to be. And I've literally been reading the same devotional for like 3 years. And whatever the date, like for the date, it will always feel like something new the next year. Like it'll hit differently. Um, and that has been a game changer for me, rather than, because I do want to look at and read something, and rather than like scrolling or getting on social media, or interacting with other people's energies, I really love that guidance, because then it just sets the tone for like, this is kind of like my theme of the day, perhaps.
Love it.
And yeah, so that is really helpful for me. And in terms of my morning, when I can, because working in TV, and I'm sure working in many industries, like my schedule is not the same every day. It's not like 9 to 5. So sometimes I have a space to move my body a lot in the morning. Like maybe I have a dog. I love walking and hiking with him in the morning, or doing some yoga or boxing. But it's not always going to be a big workout. Plus, it might be something where I can just take a walk, step outside, catch a sunrise. And so I've read something, I've got a theme, then I guess I ruminate on it. This is before interacting with the world at all. And to really set a boundary with myself to have that, all of that time to, and music,
Mm.
gospel music, affirmation music. I find that to make sure I've set the atmosphere before I let anything else in. And I mean, it can be my closest loved ones. I mean, of course, if there's an emergency, things shift, but I have like a foundation from which to shift that is like really firm in faith, and choosing choosing, I want to say endurance. Sometimes I don't want to say endurance, but choosing endurance, choosing to know that I have the strength to move through this day, choosing excitement, choosing joy, choosing gratitude, because I can easily spiral into, I'm so sensitive emotionally that I can easily, if I were to like just get on Instagram or read someone's text who wants me to hold space for them about whatever they're going through, or if I look back at some text I was sending maybe the night before or something like that, like I could get really back into that emotional space. So yeah, setting the tone, setting the atmosphere. I love gospel music so much. I love just affirmation and meditation music. It could also be instrumental meditation music sometimes for me. I love sleeping to instrumental meditations. And at night, I really love to play my sound bowls. And I'm not like I still have a lot to learn about how to play them, though I just play a simple scale and it's literally 2 minutes. I'll come home from set, be so tired. And but I have to do this thing where I just shower, get every crevice clean, get all the oils on the body, and listen to a good music, and then play those sound bowls and go to sleep. It doesn't matter if the sleep is going to be a 2-hour nap or like a full 8-hour night, but I just feel so rested when I honor my ritual in that way of like cleansing the day off,
I love that.
moisturizing,
Yes.
and playing some sound. Sound is like seems to be a big thing for me. Yeah.
I'm big into sound too, and I would love it if you would share. I don't know if it's on Spotify, but if you would share a playlist of yours
Oh yes.
with this music, I would love it. Maybe we
Oh
can put it on the
yeah.
podcast show notes because
Okay. Great.
I
Yeah.
love music. I always feel like I would be a DJ in another life.
Yes.
Because I'm the
Yes, I
same
agree.
music. Well, it's like what we talked about from the beginning of civilization. We have moved and we have danced and we have sung.
Yes.
And we've
That's
done it in all the arrays of emotion
Yes.
for
Yes.
absolute celebration and for grief,
Mhm.
because it moves our spirit. We don't get stagnant
Yes.
and hold on to it,
Yeah. We
and we
move
can
it out. Yeah.
we can celebrate it. So I love that. I want to come back to, so we're going to get your playlist, but I want to come back to something you said at the very beginning, that you're getting used to calling yourself an activist. What do you have? What is, because I get that, like, because sometimes, like, I'm an animal activist, but I'll also say I'm an animal advocate, because sometimes advocate sounds nicer. It doesn't sound like I'm going to throw like blood on you, like if you have a mink coat
Yeah.
on, you know what I mean? And I think it's because
Right.
a word attaches an idea based on our experience with that word. So activism, there can be amazing Greenpeace activists, and we're like, they're doing so much for the environment. And then you can think of another activist who's like, forsaking everything and what. So we have these ideas. So what has been your idea of it, and what is it that you want to exemplify in your activism?
Ooh. Thank you for that accountability. The word activist. Ooh, I just had a little coughing fit.
Yeah, are you okay?
Woo!
Yeah, she's got a little.
I'm good.
She let it out.
You know what
All
it
right.
is? It's just exactly.
Cough it out. All right, sister. Here we go.
All right. So yeah, you are right. There are so many ways to be an activist, and I sometimes am resistant to using the word activist for myself because I am not the person who is, because I'm more of an introvert, and I really also thrive in one-on-one or like more intimate connections. I'm not the person who leads like a group protest outside with the yelling and the crowds. I don't even like to go to Costco with people walking around different directions and the kids on the wheelie shoes and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't love it,
Yeah.
But
overwhelmed nervous system. Yes.
I get very overwhelmed in like crowded, loud spaces like that. And so I have put the label activist towards on people who do the work in like community organizing, which is so important, and which brings the people together. And then my form of activism, I'm gonna say it, my form of activism feels like that's when I create a grounding space for the people who do that work.
Mm.
And I am understanding that that is equally as important.
Yeah, I just looked up
To
activists
yeah,
because I want you to now
yeah.
really, I want you to claim
Okay, I'm gonna
this
take it in.
because it's literally someone who works to support a cause. So it could be that person out in the front,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
aligning your
Mm-hmm.
ethos, your
Mm-hmm.
choices with
Mm-hmm.
your behavior, your,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
loud. It can, but be you. So I
Yeah.
do think it's like we have to kind of reclaim that word.
Yes, you're
It's that
right.
it's campaigning for a change in whatever and believing in a cause and supporting that cause. And that can
Mm-hmm.
be in like, again, akin to what feels right for you, your nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
your energy, so that you can,
Mm-hmm.
because that requires endurance. We see people
Mm-hmm.
that burn out and they're
Yes.
not preserved. So I think finding your
Oh
lane of
yeah.
what, yeah. So anyway,
You're absolutely right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. I'm learning that more and more. Like it's really a sense of imposter syndrome in some ways, to like
yeah.
let go of that comparison and to really understand. I mean, I am grateful to have worked with Black Lives Matter in Los Angeles a lot through good trouble, and then also just by bonding with them on my own. And with my needing to do my own research because my character is the front lines activist, which I love that balance because now I get to learn in her way, and it's like the safe space of like a set where there's more security and more of a controlled environment, and then learning with the activists who I work with and the families that they work with, learning how much they need someone to remind them to sit down and slow
Mm-hmm.
down. And they need someone to guide them through a yoga practice or someone to sit and listen to them while they're listening to all these other families and going hard and getting arrested and on the front lines and protesting at people's houses. Like they are the ones with that energy. And I'm the one here to ground. I'm here to say, first of all, let's raise this money to help support this. Let's do that, and then also like raise this money to help give opportunities to marginalized folks or historically underrepresented people in different spaces. Like that is activism in itself. That's something that I love to do, and to create more representation, and also to like I want to lead a yoga practice outside in the park, like for my peers, and hire like this Black family to cook and provide this meal, and this Black woman to play sound bowls for it, and like to invest in that way, and to make sure that like activists who are on the front lines have access to lay down and have a yoga practice, and to understand what's going on perhaps with their bodies and spirits, so that they can give more. And that, you are absolutely right, that is a very important form of
Yeah,
activism, so
because
thank
you're
you.
part of that wheel. You're part of the wheel
Yes.
that's moving, and
Yes.
to nourish and take care of those
Yeah.
who are, more in the like outward,
Yeah.
they need that. And that's, but
They need that.
you're helping them refuel, and you're part of it. You're part of it. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And I get to portray someone who represents that activism, which
Yeah.
I am so grateful for, just to be able to show a glimpse of what what activism can look like, no matter what the resources are that someone has, or with the chosen family, and especially like in a really multicultural chosen family, what allyship can look like in activism. And so I do need to give myself more credit for like the more the because I take care of my vessel or the best to the best of my ability,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm able to portray this activist who is on the front lines, which allows me to do like frontline work on screen in a way that reaches people across the globe, that
Exactly.
inspires frontline activism work. So you're right, it all
Oh, I
goes
just
hand in
got the
hand.
chills. That's amazing. Like, yeah, that's
Me
where
too. That was good.
the performing arts
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so impactful,
That's what it's for. Yeah,
because at the end of
absolutely.
the day, that reaches more people who might not have
Hmm.
witnessed something that was
Yeah.
happening, in another country or
Yeah.
a couple
That's
states
right.
over. It's
That's right.
so impactful. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, way to go. Way to go.
Thank you. Go
Love it.
team.
Go
That was
team.
good.
All
Yeah, that
right.
was good.
So where let's just what do you are you somebody that likes to have like goals or dreams or visions? Like what do you envision? What would you like to see happen for yourself in the next 5 or 10 years? What do you want to do
Okay,
with
fine.
all
I'll
these
say it.
gifts? I know.
Fine. Okay. Oh,
Say it.
okay.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
Okay. Um, I'm really excited about romantic partnership in my life. And I say that because I feel excited now in a way that I have not
Mm.
been necessarily before, but like I feel excited to um join with someone from this place of purpose to like reach further
Mhm.
and like support each other, and because I'm loving doing that, I'm learning that so deeply in my platonic friendships and my professional relationships, like, oh, where we have different strengths and we each get to do the things we enjoy, and then we get this like common goal that is really great. And I want to give myself the joy. I am now seeking more of a kind of like work-life balance, like more of a sense of a home life. Now that I am figuring out the structure to balance my work life, I am excited to merge the two more. I'm excited to nurture and nourish my personal life more, and especially like in my romantic life. Like my character has been dating a lot, and so I think I took a break because she was doing a lot,
She was
and in a
exhausting
way
you
that was
during the
beautiful.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Like now in hindsight, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can see why I needed space. Like, and so newly, yeah, that was the first thing. I'm just like, okay, let me just admit it. That was the first thing that dropped in my head when you said that. It's like I'm excited to like really intimately um join with someone to like keep learning more about what my impact can be in the world, and
Mm.
like how I can share that, because I'm loving doing that with my friends, and I'm excited to combine that with like my romantic journey also. And also for myself, I'm really excited to direct and produce and to like just create even more and tell more of the stories that I want to tell. And I'm just learning so much on my show and with my peers on their projects, like that it is possible. I mean, our show is run by these badass women who are just incredible designers and producers and writers. And I'm really inspired to be one of those badass women. And I'm really inspired to know that I can be in front of the camera and also have make some great decisions that will help tell stories, especially those that can be told through my body, like by people who look like me and can see themselves, in the storytelling. So yeah, I see that for myself. I see myself as a producer and also a director, and those things really terrify me in a way that feels good, though. Like it feels like, oh, I'm gonna grow because, yeah.
Mm.
So now, yeah, just I see that. Yeah.
All right. And we can say we knew you when. This is what you're going to
Yes.
do. I can feel it. And
Yes,
I'm
it is.
just so grateful I'm here to watch it all happen. And I'll just be cheering you because you deserve
Yes.
it. You
Thank you.
deserve to bring your bright light, your beautiful heart, and your just magnetism and
Thank you.
passion out into the world in a bigger way. And so this will be
Thank
wonderful to watch you on
you.
this journey. Thank you
Yes.
so much for your time. Can you tell everybody where they can, if they don't already know all about you, where they can find out more, see you, check you out, your
Oh,
shows, social media,
yes.
wherever?
Yes. So you can always please reach out and connect with me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Zuri Adele, ZuriAdele. And then on my website, zuriadele.com. And I've got some like reading lists there that I love that are really centered on abolition and activism and wellness. And I love, keeping everybody caught up on what I'm doing. And yeah, and then on Good Trouble on Freeform, you can always catch me there. And that's on Hulu as well if you want to stream and binge.
Mm.
You also so that school, I have written down that I want to open a performing arts school. K through 12.
Ah,
So you said the liberation school. I just have to come back to that and add
you
that to
have
the
to.
list of what the vision. Yeah.
I will help
Yeah.
teach the
So
kids
you
about their
spoke it.
bodies. And you,
Let's
right,
go.
let's go. Because I'm always bemoaning the fact that we have these bodies and kids, I mean, we talk about sex education and
Hmm.
it's like, ooh, this is
Hmm.
like something to be
Yes.
shameful of. And we never
Right.
even learn about that we have scapula and they're so important for our short,
Right.
like it's, we're learning
Yes.
stupid stuff that doesn't really
Yes.
matter, some of
Yes.
it. And elementary
Yeah.
school, in middle school and
Yep.
high school should be filled with like how
Yes.
to be a better human,
Yes.
how to grow your
Yes.
spirit,
Yes.
how to not react, but how to take a pause
Yes.
and respond to somebody who has
Yes.
a different opinion, how to honor
Exactly.
your body and take care of it and have ownership over it.
Hmm.
Like this is the
Hmm.
liberation school. Yeah.
Yes. That's why you're an activist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Let's do it.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, I could talk to you forever. This was so fun.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're
Yes.
very busy and it really means a lot. And I
Thank
know everybody's
you.
going to love hearing all about you and from you. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. And for everybody that's listening, go check out Zuri. And as always, I'm pulling for you.